Welcome back to Good News Stories, where every story carries a message, every struggle has a purpose, and sometimes the person you least expect can change your entire life. Before we get into today's story, take a moment to subscribe to Good News Stories, hit the like button, and turn on your notification bell. And as you listen, tell us in the comments. Would you ever trust a homeless stranger to take care of your child for one day? Because what happened to one billionaire's 4-year-old son after his father made that very decision would leave an entire family changed forever. Now, let's begin. At 41 years old, Darnell Whitfield had achieved something most people could only dream about. He was worth billions. His real estate empire was valued at approximately $8.7 billion, with luxury apartment buildings, hotels, office towers, and commercial properties spread across several major American cities. But his greatest accomplishment stood in the heart of Atlanta. A magnificent 47-story tower of glass and steel rose above the city. Across the front of the building, enormous silver letters spelled Whitfield Global. Every morning, hundreds of employees walked through those doors. Executives rushed into meetings. Investors arrived in expensive cars. Lawyers carried briefcases filled with contracts. Business magazines regularly featured Darnell's photograph. To the outside world, he was the definition of success. He had private jets, luxury cars, a penthouse overlooking Atlanta, custom-tailored suits from Milan, a watch worth more than most families earned in several years, and a private security team that protected him everywhere he went. But there was one thing Darnell Whitfield couldn't buy: happiness for his son. Every evening, when the business world disappeared behind him and he returned to his enormous penthouse, the billionaire faced a silence that money couldn't fill. The dining table was large enough for 12 people. But most nights, only one person sat there: Darnell. Across from him was an empty chair. That chair belonged to his wife, Amara. 2 years earlier, Amara had been sitting in that same chair, laughing at something their little boy had said. Their son, Jallen, had been 4 years old then. He was energetic, curious, always talking. He could ask 100 questions before breakfast. Why is the sky blue, Daddy? Why do birds fly? Why does Grandma have gray hair? And his favorite question was one he asked almost every time the family drove at night. Mommy, why does the moon follow our car? Amara would laugh. Then she'd pull him into her arms and whisper, because the moon loves you, baby. Jallen believed her. He believed everything his mother told him. He believed she would always be there. He believed she would always tuck him into bed. He believed she would always sing his favorite song before he fell asleep. But children don't understand how quickly life can change. One morning, Amara woke up feeling unusually weak. At first, nobody was overly concerned. She had been tired for weeks. Darnell assumed it was stress. The doctors initially thought it could be several different things. Then came the tests, the scans, the consultations, and finally, the diagnosis that shattered their family: pancreatic cancer. Darnell refused to believe it. No, he told the doctor. The doctor lowered his eyes. I'm sorry. No. Darnell. No. You need to run the tests again. We already have. Then find another specialist. We have. Find someone better. We have. Darnell spent millions trying to save his wife. He flew her to hospitals in different states. He hired specialists from around the world. He paid for experimental treatments. He contacted doctors whose names he couldn't even pronounce. He told Amara that they would beat it. That she would come home. That they would grow old together. That Jallen would one day graduate from college and bring his own children home to meet them. Amara listened. She smiled. But deep down, she knew. The doctors had given them 6 months. 6 months. That was all. 6 months to say goodbye. 6 months to make memories. 6 months for Darnell to understand what his life would look like without her. But Darnell didn't want to think about that. He focused entirely on saving her. Until one September morning, the battle ended. Amara died peacefully with Darnell holding her hand. And something inside him died with her. The funeral was attended by hundreds of people. Business leaders, politicians, celebrities, friends, family, employees. Everyone talked about what a beautiful woman Amara had been. Everyone cried. Everyone offered condolences. But 4-year-old Jallen didn't understand why everyone was wearing black. He only understood that his mother wasn't coming home. That evening, Darnell carried his son into his bedroom. Jallen looked toward the doorway. Mommy's coming later? Darnell froze. He couldn't speak. Jallen waited. Daddy? Darnell swallowed the pain in his throat. No, buddy. Where is Mommy? Darnell pulled his son close. Mommy isn't coming home. Jallen stared at him. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he whispered. Why? Darnell didn't have an answer a 4-year-old could understand. So he simply held him. That night, Jallen cried himself to sleep. And the next morning, something had changed. At first, Darnell thought it was normal grief. But days became weeks. Jallen stopped singing. Then he stopped asking questions. Then he stopped playing. The little boy who once filled the penthouse with noise became almost completely silent. Darnell hired therapists. The best ones money could buy. One therapist after another came. They tried games. They tried conversations. They tried specialized treatment. Nothing worked. Darnell bought his son an enormous playroom filled with toys. Jallen barely entered it. He bought him a miniature electric car. Jallen never touched it. He took him to Disneyland. Jallen barely smiled. He flew him to beautiful resorts. Nothing. Darnell was running out of ideas. One evening, he stood outside his son's bedroom and watched him sleep. Jallen was hugging the stuffed elephant his mother had given him. Darnell quietly whispered. I'm trying, buddy. But he knew the truth. He didn't know how to help his son. And worse. He didn't know how to help himself. Because Darnell Whitfield had spent 41 years believing that depending on people was weakness. His own mother, Lorraine, had raised him alone in a poor neighborhood in southwest Atlanta. She had worked as a housekeeper. She taught Darnell one lesson over and over again. You don't need anybody, Darnell. Self-reliance is everything. People will let you down. Money won't. Darnell had believed those words his entire life. He built an empire from nothing. He never asked anyone for help. Never trusted easily. Never showed weakness. And when Amara died, he did what he had always done. He tried to handle everything alone. But there was one problem. Jallen didn't need another billionaire. He needed his father. And Darnell didn't yet understand that. Then, one rainy Thursday morning, his longtime housekeeper, Evelyn Harris, knocked gently on his office door. Mr. Whitfield? Darnell looked up from his laptop. Yes? Evelyn hesitated. I think I know someone who can help Jallen. Darnell's fingers stopped moving. He slowly closed his laptop. Another therapist? No, sir. Then who? Evelyn took a breath. A woman. What woman? Her name is Nia Carter. Darnell frowned. And what exactly does she do? Evelyn looked at him carefully. Nothing, sir. What do you mean, nothing? She doesn't have a job. Darnell waited. Where does she live? Evelyn lowered her voice. She doesn't have a home either. Darnell stared at her. You brought me here to tell me about a homeless woman? No, sir. Then what are you telling me? Evelyn looked toward the window. I've been watching her for weeks. Darnell's expression changed. Watching her do what? Something I've never seen anyone do. What? She sits with children. Darnell frowned. Children? Yes. Why? I don't know. Evelyn looked directly into his eyes. But somehow, they trust her. Darnell leaned back in his chair. Outside, rain continued falling against the glass. He had no idea that the homeless woman Evelyn was talking about was carrying a secret connected to his dead wife. He had no idea that she knew something about Jallen that nobody else knew. And he certainly had no idea that within 24 hours, he would place his son's life in the hands of a woman he had never met. A woman who owned nothing. A woman who had nowhere to sleep. A woman Darnell would soon discover had been waiting for him. For a very long time. And the reason why would change everything. The rain had been falling over Atlanta since early morning. By noon, the streets were covered in puddles, and people hurried beneath umbrellas as they moved from one building to another. But beneath the awning of an old bookstore on the west side of the city, a woman sat completely still. Her name was Nia Carter. She was 34 years old. She had deep brown skin, gentle eyes, and thick black hair pulled into a simple bun. Her clothes were old, but clean. Her shoes were worn. Beside her was a faded black backpack. Everything she owned was inside that bag. 2 changes of clothes. A small blanket. A toothbrush. A cracked photograph. An old paperback book. And a silver necklace she never removed. Nia wasn't asking anyone for money. She wasn't holding a sign. She wasn't complaining about her situation. She was simply sitting there, reading a children's book. A little girl who had been walking past suddenly stopped. "Are you homeless?" Nia looked up. The girl was perhaps 6 years old. Her mother immediately grabbed her hand. "Don't ask people questions like that." But Nia smiled. "It's okay." The girl looked at her curiously. "Where do you sleep?" Nia closed the book. "Sometimes at the shelter." "And when you can't?" Nia smiled gently. "Then I find somewhere safe." The little girl looked sad. "Don't you get lonely?" Nia looked at her for a long moment. "Sometimes." The girl's mother apologized again and pulled her away. But before they left, the little girl turned around. "What's your name?" "Nia." "I'm Lily." Nia smiled. "It's nice to meet you, Lily." The girl waved. Then she disappeared into the crowd. Nia watched her go. And for just a moment, her smile disappeared. She looked down at the photograph inside her bag. A photograph of a little girl. A little girl who would never grow up. Nia whispered. "I miss you, Maya." Then she closed her eyes. She had been carrying that pain for 6 years. And she had learned how to live with it. Or at least, she had learned how to pretend. Across the city, Darnell Whitfield stood beside a floor-to-ceiling window in his office. Evelyn had just finished telling him about Nia. He didn't look convinced. "So you're telling me," Darnell said, "that a homeless woman is somehow going to help my son?" "I don't know if she can help him." "Then why are we having this conversation?" "Because I've seen them together." Darnell turned. "What do you mean?" "There is a small playground near the shelter." Evelyn hesitated. "Jallen sometimes sees it from the car." Darnell's eyes narrowed. "So?" "I've seen Nia sitting there." "And?" "Children walk up to her." Darnell crossed his arms. "They're children. They don't know she's homeless." "Exactly. They don't care." Darnell said nothing. Evelyn continued. "That's what makes her different." "What?" "She doesn't treat them like broken children." Darnell looked away. Evelyn lowered her voice. "Maybe that's what Jallen needs." For several seconds, Darnell remained silent. Finally, he picked up his phone. "Where is she?" Evelyn smiled. "Near the old bookstore on Bankhead." Darnell grabbed his coat. "Let's go." 20 minutes later, a black luxury SUV stopped across the street from the bookstore. Darnell stepped out. His driver remained nearby. Darnell looked around. He immediately spotted her. Nia. Sitting beneath the awning. Reading. Darnell walked toward her. She looked up before he even reached her. "You must be Darnell Whitfield." Darnell stopped. "You know me?" "Everyone knows you." "Then you know why I'm here." "Your son." Darnell's expression changed. "How do you know about my son?" Nia closed the book. "People talk." "What have you heard?" That he stopped speaking. Darnell stared at her. "And you think you can help him?" Nia shook her head. "I don't know." That answer irritated him. "You don't know?" "No." "Then why would I hire you?" "I didn't ask you to." Darnell was caught off guard. He studied her. Most people became nervous around him. Nia didn't. She seemed completely comfortable. Darnell reached into his coat. "I'll pay you." "How much?" $5,000. Nia raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "One day." "Doing what?" "Babysitting my son." She stared at him. Then laughed softly. Darnell didn't understand what was funny. "You think I'm joking?" "No." "Then why are you laughing?" "Because you came here offering me $5,000. And? And you haven't asked me one question about whether I'm qualified." Darnell paused. "What qualifications do you have?" Nia looked down. "I've worked with children." "Where?" She didn't answer. Darnell became suspicious. "You're hiding something." "Everyone hides something." "Not from me." Nia smiled. "That's where you're wrong." Darnell stared at her. For some reason, her words made him uncomfortable. He had interviewed CEOs, politicians, lawyers, investment bankers. None of them made him feel the way this woman did. It was almost as if She knew something about him. Something he didn't know she knew. Darnell reached into his pocket again. I'll give you 10,000. Nia shook her head. No. 20. No. 50. She looked at him. Money isn't the reason I'm considering this. Then what is? Nia's eyes softened. Your son. Darnell's face became serious. What about him? He deserves someone who will listen. He has therapists. I didn't say he needed a therapist. Darnell was silent. Nia stood. I'll come tomorrow. Darnell looked surprised. That's it? That's it. I have one condition. What? You follow every instruction I give you. Nia smiled. No. Darnell's eyebrows lifted. No? You hired me to care for your son. Yes. Then let me care for him. She picked up her backpack. And if you don't trust me. She paused. Don't hire me. Darnell watched her walk away. He had never met anyone like her. But there was something else. Something he couldn't explain. As Nia walked down the sidewalk, she reached into her pocket. She pulled out a small photograph. Darnell couldn't see it clearly. But there was a familiar face in the picture. A woman's face. A woman he had loved for 15 years. Amara. Nia looked at the photograph and whispered. I promised you. Then she put it away. The next morning, Nia arrived at the Whitfield penthouse at exactly 8 a.m. Darnell was waiting. He had prepared everything. Security briefings. Emergency numbers. Medical information. House rules. And most importantly, the cameras. There were cameras in almost every room. Nia noticed them immediately. She looked at Darnell. You have cameras everywhere. I protect my son. Nia slowly turned toward him. No. Darnell frowned. What? You protect yourself. His face hardened. You've been here less than a minute. And I've already learned something about you. Darnell stepped closer. What? You don't trust anyone. Before Darnell could answer, a small voice came from the staircase. Daddy? Darnell's expression immediately softened. Jallen. The 4-year-old slowly walked down the stairs. He was holding his stuffed elephant. Darnell crouched. Come here, buddy. Jallen walked toward him. Darnell hugged him. Then he looked at Nia. This is Nia. Jallen stared at her. Nia smiled. Hi, Jallen. The boy didn't answer. Darnell watched. Waiting. Expecting Nia to try again. But she didn't. Instead, she walked over to the living room floor. She sat down. Then she opened her backpack. She pulled out something. A small wooden puzzle. She placed it on the floor. And began putting the pieces together. Jallen watched from the staircase. Nia didn't look at him. She didn't call his name. She didn't ask him to come. She simply played. 1 minute passed. Then 2. Then 5. Finally. Jallen slowly walked down the stairs. Darnell held his breath. The little boy walked toward Nia. He sat across from her. Nia continued playing. Jallen reached for one of the puzzle pieces. Nia pushed it toward him. He picked it up. He looked at her. And for the first time in months, Jallen spoke. Just one word. A tiny whisper. Blue. Nia looked at the piece. Then smiled. Yes. She handed him another. Blue. Darnell stared. His eyes filled with tears. His son had spoken. But what happened next would be even more shocking. Jallen looked at Nia's necklace. His little face suddenly changed. He dropped the puzzle piece. Then whispered. Mommy had that. Nia froze. Darnell froze. And for the first time since she entered the penthouse, Nia looked afraid. The room became completely silent. Jallen stood frozen beside the puzzle pieces, staring at the silver necklace around Monica Carter's neck. Darnell slowly looked at Monica. What did he just say? Monica didn't answer immediately. Her fingers moved instinctively toward the necklace. Jallen pointed at it. Mommy had one. Darnell's heart began pounding. He had seen that necklace before. Not the exact necklace. But the design was familiar. Amara had owned a similar silver pendant. Darnell looked at Monica carefully. Where did you get that? Monica lowered her hand. It's just a necklace. That's not what I asked. Jallen looked between them. Darnell stepped closer. Where did you get it? Monica's expression remained calm, but her eyes had changed. My mother gave it to me. When? A long time ago. Darnell wasn't satisfied. What was your mother's name? Monica looked at him. Why? Because my wife had a necklace exactly like that. Monica's eyes widened slightly. Your wife? Amara. The moment Darnell said the name, Monica's face changed. It was almost impossible to notice. But Darnell noticed. She knew the name. He was certain of it. How do you know my wife? Monica looked toward Jallen. Not here. Darnell's voice became firm. No. You're going to answer me. Jallen suddenly covered his ears. Daddy. Darnell immediately stopped. He looked at his son. Jallen was frightened. Darnell took a deep breath. Okay. He crouched beside him. I'm sorry, buddy. Jallen looked at Monica. Then at his father. Monica gently pushed the puzzle toward him. Why don't you finish this? Jallen nodded. Darnell stood. He motioned for Monica to follow him into the hallway. Once they were away from Jallen, his voice became quiet. Tell me the truth. Monica folded her arms. I don't know what you think you saw. You reacted when I mentioned Amara. Because she was your wife. That's not the reason. Monica looked away. Darnell stepped closer. You know her. Monica remained silent. Darnell's jaw tightened. How? Finally, Monica looked at him. I met her. When? Before she died. Darnell felt as if the floor had shifted beneath him. How many times? Monica didn't answer. How many times did you meet my wife? Enough. Enough for what? Enough for her to trust me. Darnell stared at her. Why would my wife trust a stranger? Monica's expression softened. She didn't see me as a stranger. Darnell's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? Before Monica could answer, Jallen suddenly called from the living room. Monica. Both adults turned. It was the first time Jallen had called her by name. Monica walked back toward him. Darnell followed. Jallen was holding the puzzle. He had completed it. Monica smiled. You did it. Jallen nodded. Then he looked at her necklace again. Mommy gave you that? Monica's smile disappeared. Darnell immediately noticed. Jallen, he said gently, did Mommy know Monica? The little boy nodded. She came to our house. Darnell froze. When? Jallen looked confused. Before. Before what? Before Mommy went away. Darnell's breathing became shallow. He knelt. Buddy, do you remember what Mommy said? Jallen looked at Monica. Monica's eyes were filled with emotion. Then the boy whispered. She said Monica would come. Darnell slowly stood. He looked at Monica. Come where? Monica didn't answer. Darnell's voice became sharper. What did Amara tell you? Monica took a deep breath. She told me that one day, you would need me. Darnell stared at her. Why? Monica looked at Jallen. Because she knew you wouldn't ask anyone for help. Darnell felt something tighten inside his chest. His wife had known him better than anyone. Even in death, she was still finding ways to challenge him. But there was something Monica wasn't telling him. He could feel it. And he wasn't going to let it go. That afternoon, Darnell watched Monica and Jallen through the security cameras. He had deliberately stayed away. He wanted to see what happened when nobody was watching them. Monica sat on the living room floor. Jallen sat beside her. They were drawing. For nearly an hour, Monica didn't ask the boy a single question about his mother. She simply let him draw. Eventually, Jallen drew 3 figures. A tall man. A woman. And a small boy. Monica looked at the drawing. Who are they? Jallen pointed. Daddy. Then the woman. Mommy. Then himself. Me. Monica smiled. That's beautiful. Jallen picked up a black crayon. Then he drew something behind the 3 figures. A large dark shape. Monica's smile disappeared. What's that? Jallen looked at it. I don't know. What does it do? It watches. Monica became very still. She looked toward the security camera. Then back at Jallen. Who watches? The boy whispered. Bad man. Monica's heart began beating faster. What bad man? Jallen didn't answer. He grabbed another crayon. Then he drew a black car. Monica stared at the picture. Jallen. The little boy suddenly dropped the crayon. He looked frightened. Then he whispered. He came when Mommy was sick. Monica's face changed. Who? Jallen looked toward the hallway. Then he whispered. Uncle Marcus. Inside the security room, Darnell was watching everything. He heard the boy say the name. Marcus. His brother-in-law. Amara's older brother. A man Darnell trusted completely. Darnell immediately picked up his phone. He called Marcus. Hey, Darnell, Marcus answered. What's going on? Darnell stared at the screen. Where were you the week before Amara died? There was silence. Then Marcus laughed nervously. What's that about? Answer me. I was working. Where? Darnell, what is this? Where were you? Marcus sighed. I was in Chicago. Darnell ended the call. Then he opened his computer. He pulled up Marcus's travel records. Chicago. New York. Atlanta. Something wasn't right. Marcus had told him he was in Chicago. But the record showed something different. Marcus had been in Atlanta. On the exact day Amara had supposedly left the hospital. Darnell stared at the screen. His mind raced. Why had Marcus lied? And what did Monica know? Later that evening, Darnell confronted Monica. You knew Marcus. Monica looked at him. I've met him. When? Before Amara died. What was he doing? Looking for something. What? Monica hesitated. Evidence. Darnell's heart stopped. Evidence of what? Monica looked toward the hallway to make sure Jallen wasn't listening. Your wife discovered something. What? Someone inside your company was stealing money. Darnell stared at her. That's impossible. No. I have auditors. You had auditors. Darnell's expression hardened. What exactly are you saying? Monica lowered her voice. Your wife was investigating someone. Who? Monica looked him directly in the eyes. Your family. Darnell's face went pale. Before he could ask another question, the light suddenly went out. The entire penthouse became dark. Jallen screamed from upstairs. Daddy! Darnell ran. Monica followed. But when Darnell reached his son's bedroom, the window was open. The curtains were blowing in the wind. Jallen was standing beside his bed, trembling. And on the floor was a single envelope. Darnell picked it up. There were only 4 words written across the front. Stop digging into the past. Darnell looked at Monica. She stared at the envelope. Then she whispered. They found us. The envelope remained on the floor. Stop digging into the past. Darnell stared at those 4 words, trying to understand how a stranger had managed to enter his home without triggering a single alarm. His heart was pounding. His 4-year-old son was frightened. And Monica Carter, the homeless woman he had hired only hours earlier, looked as if she already knew exactly what was happening. Darnell turned toward her. Who are they? Monica didn't answer. Monica. She looked at him. You need to get Jallen somewhere safe. Darnell's expression hardened. Don't tell me what to do in my own house. I'm not trying to control you. Then answer my question. Monica glanced toward the hallway. I don't know who left that envelope. Darnell stepped closer. But you said, they found us. I said what I said. Why would they be looking for you? Monica's eyes became distant. Because sometimes people become dangerous when they think someone knows too much. Darnell stared at her. What do you know? Before Monica could answer, Jallen grabbed Darnell's hand. Daddy. Darnell immediately looked down. Yes, buddy? Can I sleep with you tonight? Darnell's heart broke. Of course. He lifted his son into his arms. Jallen buried his face against his father's chest. Darnell looked at Monica. You're staying. Monica nodded. For tonight. Darnell's security team searched the entire penthouse. Every room. Every closet. Every balcony. Every service entrance. Nothing. No intruder. No broken lock. No forced entry. It was as if whoever left the envelope had simply appeared inside the apartment. Darnell stood in his security room watching the monitors. Monica stood behind him. Show me the footage from Jallen's hallway. Darnell pressed a button. The footage appeared. 2:35 a.m. Nothing. 2:40. Nothing. 2:45. Still nothing. Then the clock changed. 2:47 a.m. The screen flickered. For 3 seconds, the image went black. Then it returned. Darnell frowned. What happened? Monica leaned toward the screen. Go back. Darnell replayed it. Again. The same thing. At exactly 2:47, the camera malfunctioned. Darnell immediately checked the system. His security software showed no technical failure. Someone did this. Monica's voice was quiet. Yes. Darnell turned. How do you know? Because I've seen it before. Where? Monica didn't answer. Monica. She looked at him. Before Amara died. Darnell froze. What happened? Your wife told me someone was watching her. Who? She didn't know. Did she tell you why? She was investigating something. What? Monica looked toward the monitor. Money. Darnell frowned. What money? Money disappearing from your company. Darnell's expression changed. That's impossible. Is it? I have accountants. People can steal from accountants. I have auditors. Auditors can be deceived. I have lawyers. Monica looked at him. And lawyers can be bought. Darnell fell silent. He didn't like the conversation. But deep down, something was bothering him. Because Amara had never been careless with money. She had been involved in the business. She understood the company's finances better than most executives. If she had suspected something, maybe there really was something wrong. The next morning, Jallen woke up unusually early. Darnell was sitting beside him. Good morning, buddy. Jallen rubbed his eyes. Where's Monica? She's downstairs. The boy immediately got out of bed. Can I see her? Darnell smiled. Of course. They walked downstairs. Monica was sitting at the kitchen table. She had made Jallen breakfast. Pancakes. Fruit. And a small glass of milk. Jallen smiled. Mommy made pancakes. Monica looked at him. She did? Every Saturday. Darnell stopped. Today was Saturday. He hadn't realized it. For months, Saturdays had meant business meetings. Golf games. Investor calls. But Amara had always made pancakes on Saturday mornings. Darnell looked at the plate. Something inside him hurt. Jallen climbed into the chair. Monica placed a pancake in front of him. Then she asked. What did your mommy put on yours? Strawberries. Monica smiled. She added strawberries. Jallen took a bite. For the first time in months, he laughed. Darnell stood at the doorway watching. He realized something. Monica wasn't trying to replace Amara. She wasn't trying to become Jallen's mother. She was simply reminding him of the good memories he still had. Later that afternoon, Monica and Jallen were in the garden. Darnell watched from the upstairs window. Jallen was running through the grass. Monica was sitting beneath a tree. Suddenly, Jallen stopped. He looked toward the gate. His face changed. Daddy. Darnell rushed outside. What happened? Jallen pointed toward the street. That car. Darnell looked. A black sedan was parked across the road. Its windows were tinted. Darnell immediately called security. Find out who owns that car. A security officer approached the vehicle. But before he could reach it, the car sped away. Darnell watched it disappear. Then he looked at Monica. She was staring at the road. Her expression had become pale. You recognize it? She didn't answer. You recognize that car? Monica slowly nodded. Yes. Whose is it? She looked at Darnell. That's the car I saw outside the hospital the night Amara died. Darnell's heart stopped. What? I saw it parked across the street. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't know who was inside. Did Amara know? Monica shook her head. No. Darnell looked toward the road. The car was gone. But the questions remained. Who had been watching Amara? Why? And why had the same car appeared outside his home? That evening, Darnell entered his study. He opened an old box belonging to Amara. He hadn't touched it since her funeral. Inside were photographs, receipts, old birthday cards, a perfume bottle, and a small notebook. Darnell opened it. Most of the pages contained ordinary notes, grocery lists, appointments, things Jallen needed. But near the back, he found something unusual. A series of numbers, dates, bank account numbers, and one name written repeatedly. Marcus. Darnell's hands went cold. Marcus was Amara's older brother, his closest business advisor, a man Darnell trusted completely. Darnell stared at the name. Then he remembered something. 3 weeks before Amara died, Marcus had asked him for access to several private company accounts. Darnell had given it to him without question. He had trusted family. Now he wondered if that trust had been a mistake. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was his head of security. Mr. Whitfield. Yes? We found something. What? The black sedan from earlier. Darnell stood. Where? About 3 miles from the house. Who owns it? There was a pause. Then the security officer spoke. Sir. What? The vehicle is registered to a company. Which company? Another pause. One of your companies. Darnell's blood ran cold. Which one? Whitfield Global Holdings. Darnell slowly sat down. His eyes moved toward Amara's notebook. Marcus. Then toward the window. Someone had been watching his family. Someone connected to his company. Someone who had possibly been close to Amara before she died. And suddenly, Darnell understood something terrifying. The threat wasn't coming from outside his world. It was coming from inside his own family. That night, Darnell couldn't sleep. At exactly 2:47 a.m., he heard a noise from the hallway. He quietly opened his bedroom door. The hallway was dark. He walked toward Jallen's room. Then he heard a woman's voice. Soft. Singing. The same lullaby Amara used to sing. Darnell stopped. He slowly opened the door. Monica was sitting beside Jallen's bed. The boy was awake. Tears streamed down his cheeks. Monica gently held his hand. Darnell listened. Then Monica whispered. Your mommy told me you'd be scared. Darnell froze. Jallen looked at her. She said you'd come. Monica's eyes filled with tears. Yes. Darnell stepped into the room. What did she say? Monica turned. For the first time since she arrived at the penthouse. She looked genuinely afraid. Darnell repeated himself. What did my wife tell you? Monica slowly reached for the silver necklace around her neck. Then she whispered. She told me that if anything happened to her. She looked at Jallen. I had to find him. Darnell's voice became barely audible. Why? Monica looked directly into his eyes. Because your wife knew someone was trying to silence her. Darnell's heart stopped. And before he could ask another question, a loud sound came from downstairs. Crash! Jallen screamed. Darnell immediately grabbed his son. Monica stood. They rushed toward the hallway. Then they heard footsteps. Someone was inside the penthouse. And whoever it was had come looking for something.